Gear up, Scooter fam. So today, I thought I'd do a video on my favorite scooter at each price point under $1,000, under $2,000, under $3,000, and under $4,000. Just those four categories. And so for each one, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick three of my favorite scooters to compare the specs a bit, and then pick which one is my favorite from each of those three. So for each one, $1,000 and under, I'll pick three and then choose my favorite. Same thing for $2,000, between 1,000 and 2,000. Same thing between 2,000 and 3,000, and same thing between 3,000 and 4,000. So it should be fun. I did something similar to this a little while back, but it's been a while. Prices have moved around. A lot of these prices for Black Friday are still in effect, and so I'm going to work off of those prices because that's where they are right now, and just sort of give my take on these things, on these scooters. All right. So before I get into the video, a couple of things. First, I wanted to talk about IP ratings. And I saw something on one of the boards, and someone was kind of confused about GoTrack's IP ratings and so forth, and what they stood for, what they meant. Seemed like there was some confusion. So, in case there's anyone else out there that doesn't fully understand IP ratings, I'm going to break it down. So, IP ratings. There's two columns. There's the first column, which is a dust rating column, so it's rated for dust proof. And then the second rating is the waterproof rating, which is what more people are concerned about because it can do more damage than dust. So in any case, what that means is, that just simply stated, the higher the number, the better. So an IPX4 would be pretty much no rating for dust, and then a 4 for water. And so an IP54 rating would be the same for water, but it would have a 5 for dust. And like I said, for scooters, I think the last number is probably the most important. I really pay attention to the second number personally, but or to the first number in sequence. So it's the second number at the end that is the most important to me for water, and to most people riding scooters. But some may be concerned about both, just not me necessarily. And so just want to sort of explain that an X is no rating, all right? But an X4, an IPX4, just means it's not rated for dust, and it's rated as a 4 for water. Just so that's clear. An IP66 rating would have a 6 rating for dust and a 6 rating for water. Don't want to over explain, but that's the idea. All right, next topic. I don't want to get too deep into this, but I will say, just preface this, and I'm not trying to to say anything, but the point is that before I get into this, I have a degree in economics and an MBA. And so I just want to sort of give my expertise, but before trying to explain really quickly, I don't want to get too in the weeds. I'm not trying to teach a course on economics, but I want to explain something about scooter pricing, right? And so there's some speculation. There was some speculation before as well. I've been following scooters for 6 months or so now, and when they were talking about putting 100% tariffs on scooters, I saw all over the boards people saying, "Are these tariffs going to cause scooter prices to go up?" And I will say some scooter prices have tried to get away with going up, and some have played the game like Apollo, jumping up and down, segue a little bit. Apollo, no one more than Apollo. I've seen Apollo just jump around like you wouldn't believe. So they're yeah, they jump around like crazy. So anyway, here's what I'll say. Uh, Prices are not going to go up because of tariffs. And I know that might be hard to understand, and I'm not going to get into a big, you know, thing over it. I don't want to make a whole video on it. That would be, hopefully I don't have to, but hopefully it's just understood. And it's probably hard to understand, but scooter prices are not going to go up because of tariffs. They haven't gone up because of tariffs. Some of them are cheap as they've ever been. And they're not going to go up because of tariffs this time, no matter what the tariffs are. So just understand that scooter prices aren't going up. And there's going to be some fluctuations. Of course, there's going to be scooter companies that play the pricing game, that try to get what they can, and try to get people to create some urgency. They are going to do that. They're probably, pushing them more than anything else, because they want to sell that, right? And I know there's reporters and everybody else talking about this stuff, but I just want to let you should rest assured scooter prices are not going up. Certainly over time they're not. I see scooter prices going down in general as more competition enters the market and so forth. So I don't believe, well, they're not going down. So they're not going up. They may stabilize for a while. They may drop slower than usual, but as more competition enters the market, as more scooter companies compete, prices will go down. And tariffs really have very little to do with that. Tariffs are more concerned with where that money gets put. And, if you input, like I said, I'm not going to get too deep into this, but it just changes who gets the money. It doesn't change the end price to the consumer. So you're not going to pay any more for a scooter just because of tariffs. End point. All right. Next, now we can get into the good stuff. The first section I have to go over is the under $1,000 mark, and talk about these scooters. I've chosen the 3 scooters to look at. These are not new scooters. We talked about them before, but here they are again, just in case you missed it, and I'll go over them pretty quickly. The GX0 from GoTrax is a good one. The InMotion Climber is another. And then, of course, my personal favorite, the Hoverborn Journey Max. These are all dual motor scooters, and I did have that as a criteria. For me, at this point, there would be no reason for me to include a single motor scooter in with the dual motor scooters, just because it would be an easy choice for me. So there's no, I'm not dogging out single motor scooters, and I've done videos on just single motor scooters before. But if I'm gonna, put a list together of my favorites, it's hard for me to put a single motor scooter in there, because it's going to get tossed aside very quickly. All right, so the GX0 is $799 at the moment. The Climber is $599, and the Journey Max is $499. The Climber has the highest, most range. The GX0 has the highest speed, although the slowest 0 to 15, which is interesting. The Climber has the fastest 0 to 15. The GX0 is the heaviest and carries the highest weight at over 364. The GX0 also has the most motor power at dual 500 watt motors. They all have 36 volt batteries, but the GX0 has the largest. They're all dual motors, as I said. They all have thumb throttles. GX0 is the only one with any suspension and dual disc brakes. The Climber and the Journey Max both have rear disc brakes and regen brakes. The GX0 has 10-inch tires, as does the Climber. The Journey Max has 8.5-inch tires. The Climber and the Journey Max both have tube tires, but the Climber has a split rim. GX0 has a tubeless tire. As far as IP ratings, as we talked about earlier, the GX0 has an IP54, so 4 for water rating. The Climber has an IP56, so a 6 for water rating, which is outstanding. And the Journey Max has an IPX4 or 4 for water rating, same as the GX0, and so the Climber wins by 2 marks on that one. The GX0 and the Journey Max are both UL listed, and the InMotion Climber is not. They all have about the same range, right at 20 miles. Not anything to talk about there. The Climber and the Journey Max are right at 20 miles an hour, 21 miles an hour, so not really a lot to talk about there. The 0 to 15 timers are a little nicer on the Climber and the Journey Max, admittedly. They're a lot closer at 3.5 and 3.8. The GoTrax is a little bit slower, but can go to 28 miles an hour top speed, which is a decent difference from 21 miles an hour. So, talking about 7 miles an hour difference. And carries a lot more weight at 364 pounds. Now, not a big deal if you're not going to carry that much weight, but you got to take into consideration that this one has a top speed of 28 miles per hour. And if you don't travel 28 miles per hour often, which I wouldn't, I'll likely get more range than that. And if you don't, drive it, crazy, whatever. So in any case, you might get more than 20 miles of range if because it's has a higher top speed, and you might not use that top speed as much. All 36 volts, like I said, it's the only one. GX0 is the only one with suspension and the only one with tubeless tires, and it's gonna win. It's gonna win for me. So I certainly wish it had a better 0 to 15, but at $799, I think it's a deal. It is the most expensive, but it also has dual hydraulics suspension, and it has dual disc brakes and tubeless tires, and all those things. It's UL listed. It's got a IP54 versus the Climber's 56, but it's just not enough to sway me. So I'm going to go with the GoTrax GX0 for my first pick. All right. Next up, we have the $2,000 to $1,000 category, $1,000 to $2,000. How you want to look at that? And we have 3 scooters here. We have the Solar P1 Pro, we have the Cabo Wolf Warrior X, and we have the Apollo Phantom V2. The V4X. My apologies. Next up, we have the Solar P1 Pro, the Cabo Wolf Warrior X, and the Apollo Phantom V4X. All right. And as you know, these scooters are all 3 super nice scooters. That's why I picked them. The P1 Pro goes the fastest at 50 miles an hour. The Wolf Warrior under that at 45, and then the Phantom the lowest, right at 40 miles an hour for the Phantom. So the Wolf Warrior X is the cheapest of the 3, and so likely the best deal out of these as far as that, as far as just your money. The range is comparable. The P1 Pro has the highest range, and then the Wolf Warrior, and then the Phantom. 0 to 15, the Wolf Warrior is the fastest, with the P1 Pro right behind it. The P1 Pro is the heaviest. The other 2 are fairly light. The P1 Pro also has the max weight load of 330, with the Phantom behind it at 300. Motor power, P1 Pro has dual 2,000 watt motors. The Wolf Warrior X dual 1,100 watt, and the Phantom 1,200 watt. The P1 Pro also has the largest battery, being a 60 volt. The Wolf Warrior X also is a 60 volt, but the Phantom is a 52 volt. The Phantom has a thumb throttle, and the Wolf Warrior X and the P1 Pro both have paddle style throttles. These all have dual suspension, and the Phantom has dual disc brakes, and the Wolf Warrior X and P1 both have dual hydraulic brakes. The P1 Pro is the only one with 11-inch tires, and they are tubeless with sealant. The Wolf Warrior X has tubes, and the Phantom just has tubeless. For IP ratings, P1 Pro has IP54, the Wolf Warrior X is IPX5, and the Phantom is IP54. So, once again, we have 4, 5, 4 for the water ratings, with the Wolf Warrior being the highest. None of them are UL listed. All right, so once again, the best deal is probably the Wolf Warrior X in the group. Does not mean that's going to be my choice, but it is the best deal. The P1 Pro and the Phantom are both decent deals, I think, at this price. They're both certainly worth the money, although the P1 Pro still has a 12% discount on it. And the Phantom V4, I think, is $19.99. That's what it is. And so on that, I like the Wolf Warrior X a lot. The one thing that's really starting to like hold me back from getting something like that is the tube. I know there's split rims. I know it's not that big of a deal, but I'm just getting more and more leaning toward wanting to have tubeless tires. The Klima has the tubeless tires. I got a plug kit in my bag. I feel like I could handle a simple puncture pretty easily on the spot and get going pretty quickly. The tubed, I'd have to, do a little work. I could carry around tubes with me, but I used to do that as a kid on my bike. But honestly, I like the plug kit, and I think that would probably take care of it on the spot pretty quickly. I'm gonna go with the P1 Pro. It's got a 60-volt system, larger battery, highest top speed of all. In the middle with a range, still decent. Considering it's got a higher top speed, not gonna probably go as fast, and plus I'll get a bit more range out of that. Sorry, the P1 Pro is the highest range and highest speed. Yeah, sorry. So, and I'd probably get more than what it says. So that's a real positive. The 11-inch tires are really another selling point, besides the fact that it has tubeless tires and sealant as well. None of them are listed, so that's out of the picture. IP54 is the lowest, and I prefer the 5 rating on that. But it's just not willing for me to give up tubeless tires. Sealant makes it nice if it's already installed. Not that I would add it, as you guys know. Or maybe not, but I would not add it. And so for this, my selection is going to be the Solar P1 Pro for the win. All right. On that note, there is the Solar FF Lite. Very comparable. I didn't want to put it in here with the P1 Pro. And the P1 Pro specs just outdo the FF Lite a little bit, but the FF Lite, I like the design of it better. So, but it only has 10-inch tires. So there's, like I said, there's some the Solar beats it out just a little bit on specs, and it is $100 more. But the FF Lite, I did not want to leave completely out. I could go either way. On that one. I kind of like the design better of the FF Lite. But the P1 Pro wins this round. All right. Next up is the $2,000 to $3,000 category. These are scooters between $2,000 and $3,000. And there are 3 very, very worthy opponents here. I like all 3 of these pretty well. And so I know a lot about all 3 of these scooters. Mostly because this is the range that I like to shop in, $2,000 to $3,000. We got the RS Midnight Lite, we got the Bernie 2, and we got the Segway GT2. They are all pretty good prices right now, to be honest. The RS Midnight Lite right at $2,500, the Bernie 2 at $2,700, and the Segway GT2 at $2,500. Although the Bernie 2 is out of stock at the moment. This is just a regular Bernie 2, not the Bernie 2 Max. So just a note, they're all good deals. I consider them all really good deals at this price. So I just want to say that up front. The range, top speed. So the RS Midnight Light is the fastest of the three, at over 50 miles an hour. The Burn E2 comes in next at right at 44 miles an hour, and the GT2 last at 42 miles an hour. They all are sub 2, 0 to 15. 0 to 15 speed under 2 seconds. The Burn E2 has the most range of the three, but considering the top speed of the Midnight Light, I could probably squeeze just as much range, if not a little bit more, out of the Midnight Light, considering the extra allowable speed there. The RS is the heaviest of the three. The Burn E is the lightest, just over 100 pounds. And the Segway in the middle there, but really closer to the RS Midnight, 115 and 120. They all carry over 330-pound riders or load. The RS Midnight Light and the Segway GT2 both have dual 1500-watt motors. The Burn E2 has dual 1000-watt motors. The battery size is the largest of the RS Midnight Light. Behind it, the Burn E2, and then last, the GT2, being a 52-volt system. So, so on that note, the GT2 is a 52-volt, and the Burn E2 and the RS Midnight Light both are 72-volt systems. The GT2 has a twist throttle, and the Burn E2 has a paddle throttle, and the RS Midnight Light has a twist or a paddle throttle. So you have your choice. They all have front and rear hydraulic suspension, with the Burn E2 probably having the best street suspension of the three. And these are all pretty much street scooters, so take that into consideration. None of these are really made for off-roading, although they all have decent suspensions and can probably handle it okay. They wouldn't do as well against a scooter made for off-road. They both have, they all three have hydraulic disc brakes. All three have 11-inch tubeless tires. As far as IP rating, the GT2 has the lowest at IPX4, and the Burn E2 next highest up at IP55, and then the RS Midnight Light with the highest IP rating at IPX6. The GT2 is the only one that is UL listed. That's a factor. That's definitely a factor. All right, real quick, which one would I choose? I like all the scooters. I like the UL listing. That's certainly a factor. I don't like the twist throttle as much as the paddle throttles. Those two, the battery is 72 volts, but all that being considered, Segway does a decent job with the 52-volt battery and getting decent performance out of it under 2 seconds. 0 to 15, 42 miles an hour. Not bad for a 52-volt system. 11-inch tires, tubeless. Really nice. And so, these compared, I'm gonna go with the InMotion RS. Of course, if you go with the Midnight, that is UL listed as well. So, just thought about that as I was saying. If you chose the Midnight version of the RS Lite, it does have a UL listing, but the standard US RS Lite does not. So depending where you get it and depending what you can get it for, I'm quoting the price on the regular RS Lite from InMotion, and that would actually be my choice as well. It's the heaviest. It's got the best rating. The UL listing, although it's not there, they have it for the other scooter. I'm sure they're the same scooters. They just went to the trouble to get one UL listed and cost money. So they only spent resources to get the Midnight versions UL listed for whatever reason. But they're now UL listed, but it really wouldn't concern me between the Midnight or the other version if I could save money. Not at all. If there was the money was not a factor and they were both the same price and one had a UL listing, sure, no problem. That makes sense. But if I can save, a couple $100 or so on the light and it doesn't have a UL listing, it just wouldn't matter to me at all. So the RS Motion, the InMotion RS is the winner for this category. On to the very last category, we had the $3,000 to $4,000 price range. And for these, we have the T-Wing Mars XTR, the InMotion RS, and the Cabo Wolf King GT. The Mars XTR is $32.49. They only have the black version available at the moment. The InMotion RS is $34.99 with all the discounts applied. And the Wolf King GT is $3,000 at the moment. As far as top speed, the XTR is the fastest at 65 miles an hour. The RS is next at 62, and the Wolf King last at 61 miles an hour. The XTR has the highest, not the highest range. The RS has the highest range at 60 miles. The Mars XTR next at 57, and the Wolf King at 55. All those are like really close, and I think we might be splitting hairs on those range estimates anyway, and I would be very comfortable to say that they all pretty much have very close to the same range. They all have sub 2 second 0 to 15 times, with the Wolf King being the slowest at 1.8. The XTR and the RS both have the same at 1.6. The XTR is the heaviest at over 136 pounds, quite heavy. The other two are just over 120 pounds. The Mars XTR does handle the highest weight load at 440 pounds versus 330 pounds for the other two. They all have two 2,000 watt motors. They all have dual 2,000 watt motors. And the XTR has the largest battery with the RS behind it at number 2. They all have 72 volt systems. The Wolf King GT and the InMotion RS both can have paddle style throttles. The RS could have a twist throttle, and the Cabo can also have a finger throttle. The Mars XTR has a thumb throttle. They all have dual suspension, and they all have dual hydraulic brakes. They all have 11-inch tubeless tires, with the XTR and the Wolf King GT both having sealant as well. For IP rating, the Mars XTR and the InMotion RS are both IP6 ratings, rather IP66 and IPX6 respectively, but for the water rating, they both have a 6 rating. The Wolf King GT is an IPX5 rating, which is still really decent, and I'll be pretty happy with myself. The InMotion RS, if you get it in the midnight version, is UL listed. The others are not UL listed at all. And once again, I'm quoting the price of the InMotion RS from the InMotion site, which is the standard RS that is not UL listed. Take that into consideration. All right, so my favorite of these scooters at this price point, the XTR definitely has a top speed, decent range, highest payload. It is the heaviest, which is a tad of consideration. 136 pounds is not crazy for me, but it's approaching crazy. Close to 140 pounds. It's a little bit of weight. The throttles are fairly okay. I'd be happy with any of these throttles. And they're all tubeless tires, so that's easy for me. All decent water ratings, and none of them that I would be considering are UL listed, because I believe the standard RS at InMotion is a better deal at the moment. I could be wrong, and if I'm wrong, I might consider the other. But once again, given the prices being the same, one being UL listed, sure, I will go that way. Getting a better deal for one that's not UL listed but the same scooter, yeah, I got no problem with that. My pick for in this category would be the Wolf King GT. And the reason why is just the deal. The value right now is really too great. you get everything pretty much here that I would need. Certainly, over 60 miles an hour top speed is fine. The fact that the XTR can go 65 just really doesn't sway me. It's a few miles an hour, and I'll never go that fast anyway. The 0 to the 15 is great on the GT, although a little bit better on the other two. It's still under 2 is pretty good in my opinion. It's in the middle for weight. It's 125 pounds, but I like the GT size in general. The and that's just interesting, comparing the RS to the GT. Never that's really interesting. I never really considered doing that before. I would always maybe compare the GTR, but I actually think the GT beats out the RS even at this price. I just realized that. All right, so the battery size on the GT is the smallest, although they're 72 volt systems. It does a decent job with range. I would never go 60 miles an hour, so I'm going to get much more range out of it than what it states personally. It does have the optional paddle style throttle, which I like. Dual hydraulic brakes. Like I said, 11-inch tubeless tires. Everything's great with me on that. So for me, it will be the Wolf King GT Pro in this category. Yeah, a lot of times I throw these I pick my favorite 3, and as I'm going through the video, I decide once again I could have this all done, and I can go through really quick and tell you what I picked. But the truth is, I want to have it be more natural, and I really am deciding as I'm talking to you guys which one I like, and I'm taking into consideration as I'm going through. And I did not realize that that the Wolf King GT would beat out the InMotion RS at $3,500. Until I put them side by side, I don't know if I would have guessed that. So $3,000 scooter at the Wolf King GT, man, is still I think a great deal. 72 volt system. I mean, what are you not getting? What are you missing here? I mean, I can't find it. All right, so final thoughts. Man, what is it about the King? Man, I don't know. That scooter there keeps popping up here and there. Never know. That might be in my next scooter. Right now, it's $100 off too, $28.99. Oh my gosh! All right. So now, take into consideration when I'm looking at these split up this way. I'm not considering scooters that are close to 1,000. If they fall into that category, they're sort of getting excluded from another category. So they might compete well if you had one that was like just over $1,000 and one that was at $1,000, but they're not going to be included in this list because the one that's over $1,000 is just competing all the way up to $1,000. So to $2,000. So because I'm separating them out this way, just understand I'm not considering those ones that are excluded based on where they fall on the list. That's just a way for me to kind of take them, put them together, and give my opinions on them. Just want to kind of note that. And pretty much, I would say all of these scooters in this list, aside from the 1,000 and under, are possibilities that I might certainly want to get from my next scooter. They all could fall into that range. In anywhere, I mean, even a little bit under $2,000 would be, if I could find something that I really liked, it's a definite possibility. And could I go for the RS at $3,500? I think the RS is a great deal at $3,500. But right now, I still think the Wolf King GT. I looked at the GTR, putting it in this category, and I just thought that the GT competes better. It just competes better with that at that price. It's not going up, and so it may go up, but not really. They're going to fluctuate, but in general, no, they're not going up. So, the Wolf King GT is my pick. My favorite scooter between $3,000-$4,000 period right now. And that's interesting. All right, guys. If you found this content helpful and you enjoyed it, please like, share, and subscribe. Join my Patreon, and happy writing.